Why your attitude and how you behave matters to tall, rich, good-looking men. Part 2. Social skills. Your social skills are incredibly important. We all know the type of girl who only can hang out with men and who other girls hate. That's a major hindrance when it comes to high-value men. If you can't get along with other girls and have a social life of your own, and get along with the wives and girlfriends of other high-value men, you're a liability rather than an asset. If you're the sort of girl who frequently falls out with girlfriends and where there is a lot of drama in your life, no man worth being with wants to spend his time listening to you drone on about how you have fallen out with your best friend or how much you hate your dad, etc., etc. A lower value man who's never had a pretty girlfriend but has no money or looks will be much more tolerant of this. But high value men who are under stress, running businesses, or in high power careers do not want to come home to these problems. Is that unfair? Probably because life is unfair. You can't expect everything from your partner. You can't expect someone to be your provider, your protector, your lover, and your therapist. That's just too much. High value men, by nature, are going to be less empathetic as they have to make clear cut, rational, and sometimes ruthless decisions at work. If you give a high value man a problem that is impossible for him to solve, for example, I hate my dad, let's spend the next 3 hours talking about it. This will drive him crazy. High value men, by their very nature, are problem solvers, arguing and nagging. Everybody has arguments, that's just a part of life. It's when and how you conduct those arguments that matters. Women nag when they feel they haven't been heard. And when women nag, men become silent and essentially turn their ears off and wait for it to be over. This makes the situation more difficult and more frustrating from both sides. If you have an issue you want to discuss with your man, especially when you're unhappy with something, choose your moment. If he comes home from work visibly stressed and preoccupied with the day's events, that's not the time to start in on him about how he has been promising to clean out the garage for months or whatever it is. That will immediately put him on the defensive. High value men have strongly disagreeable personalities. I certainly do. Without this type of mindset, men simply don't get anywhere in life and people walk all over you. The time to raise your issue is after he is visibly relaxed and decompressed. If you really want your man to listen to you, the best way to get his attention off the day's events and onto you is to give him some good old fashioned loving that will get him into a receptive mood like nothing else. If you do get into a serious argument with your man and emotions are running high on both sides and he storms off, that is where you must disengage and leave him alone. The reason he is doing that is to prevent things from getting physical. This is where a higher level of emotional self control is essential. Emotional self control is extremely important if you are looking to retain a high value man. You can never trust any man or woman who has no emotional self control. The reason being crazy talk turns into crazy actions, and crazy actions can cause irreparable damage and at the very least end your relationship. A man or woman with no emotional self control cannot be trusted with children. Children can be incredibly frustrating, and someone who simply cannot control their temper or their emotions will not make a good parent and will most likely traumatize their children. Jealousy. If you're the type of girl who is deeply insecure and easily becomes jealous of other women, or your man's relationships with his friends, you will never retain a high value, high status man. I have dated a few women like this, and it never lasted. Men need the company of their friends in order to unload and relax in a way they just cannot do with their woman. As I said earlier, you cannot be everything to everyone, and that goes for both men and women. Just like when I mentioned, you can't expect your man to be your therapist. A man can't expect his woman to be his best friend, or at least in the same way he is with his male friends. Every man learns early on that confiding in your woman about his deepest fears and anxieties is often a quick way of getting himself dumped. It is one of the great betrayals of the modern world, as we are constantly told to share our feelings and emotions. But the reality of that is that your woman will think that she can no longer rely on you to be a provider or rely on you in a crisis. Does that sound like toxic masculinity? Probably, but it's a painful lesson many men, including myself, have learnt. Maybe if you're in a 50-50 relationship and confiding your problems in your partner is easier, but as a man, if your main role is provider, then you are potentially undermining your value by confiding problems at work, etc., in your woman. Being reliable, reliability is another major factor. If you're unreliable, then you're untrustworthy. Of course, that goes both ways. But if you're flaky, play games, blow hot and cold, you will get dumped. Remember, you're not the prize here. Pretty girls who like to play games in order to get attention are two a penny. What's not two a penny are tall, good looking, rich men who will make good husbands and fathers. So if you're fortunate enough to find someone like that, do your future children a favor and don't drive him away unnecessarily, because it may take you a long time to find someone else as good. And as we all know, time is not on your side, ladies. Loyalty. Loyalty is one of the three main attributes a woman has to offer a high value man. You are not going to provide for him. You are not going to protect him. You're unlikely to educate him, particularly if you are much younger than he is. Loyalty through thick and thin is what men appreciate most of all. How can you, as a woman, give off the vibes that you are loyal? This is an interesting question that stands out to a man. A potentially disloyal woman is a woman who is extremely entitled, a woman who is expecting five-star treatment, and it's all about shoes, handbags, and labels, etc. The message it conveys is that if you can't provide me with my material needs and wishes, I will dump you and find someone who can. Women like these tend to get used and cheated on by men who can see them coming a mile away because they have a little more to offer than their looks. A woman who dresses stylishly, conservatively, but not grandiosely is easy to please will be much more loyal in good times and in bad. The way I filter women like this is my walk in the park date with my dog. I don't save it for the second date after a meal at a good restaurant. If she's interested in doing something with me that doesn't involve spending money, then she won't dump if I fall on hard times. The biggest green flag is when a woman suggests for a first date that you do something low key and low cost, like going for a walk in the park and getting to know each other. Sex is another one of the few things women have to offer a high value man. As we all know, sex is extremely important in relationships. High value men need sex. They tend to have higher testosterone levels that drives them forward. As a woman, if you refuse sex to your partner, he will either break up with you or go and find it somewhere else. Sex releases endorphins and makes both parties feel much better. It also bonds you together, and neglecting your man in this department is tantamount to breaking up with him, as that is usually what happens next. The potential for children. Your fertility is extremely important. That is why I urge women in their early 20s to use their beauty and charms to get into stable relationships with high value to build a long lasting relationship before having children. What is extremely unattractive to high value men? A woman who has focused on her career, has woken up in her mid to late 30s, where the likelihood of conceiving has gone down and the likelihood of problem pregnancies has gone up, and is now desperate to have a child and wants to have one within a few months of meeting a man. This is poor life planning. No man in his senses wants to have a child with a woman. He's been dating for 6 months. You don't know each other well enough. Your relationship is not strongly bonded, and it is grossly irresponsible women who go down this route often and wind up being single mothers, which in turn lowers their value to men. Is any of that fair? No, of course not. Are there any exceptions? Yes, of course there are, but as a thing of rule, it's best to focus on finding a good quality man in your early 20s and building a life together. As I have mentioned earlier, that's what Kate Middleton and Prince William have done. Their relationship should be your ideal role model. The three topics that I have covered, namely loyalty, sex, and the potential for children, are things you must be able to offer a high value man. 2 out of 3 ain't bad, but it's not enough to sustain a long term relationship with a high value man. Again, fairness has nothing to do with it. I hope you have found this video informative and helpful. Again, this is all honest advice coming from a good place. It is not meant to offend or undermine anyone. If you have any questions, put them in the comments and I will make a video to answer your questions. Please like, subscribe and comment, and I will see you in the next video.